Today's notes are about rotations about the origin. In our first set of notes, we're going to discuss rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise. So, for our notes, a rotation is a turn around a fixed point called the center of rotation. Okay? So a turn around a fixed point called the center of rotation. The figure rotates at a specific angle. And you know, angle comes in measurements of degrees. So that movement is going to be measured in degrees. And the figure rotates in a specific direction. For rotation, it's going to be counterclockwise or clockwise. Though the figure can rotate around any fixed point, the most common center of rotation is the origin. Remember, origin is just 0, 0, okay? So it's a turn measured in degrees at an angle, and the direction is counterclockwise or clockwise, okay? And remember, counterclockwise is in this direction. Clockwise is in this direction. So counterclockwise is the opposite of the way a clock moves. Clockwise is the way a clock moves, okay? All right, so a 90 degrees counterclockwise move moves an image from quadrant 1 to quadrant 2. Okay, remember your quadrants. Start here with quadrant 1, and then you move counterclockwise all the way to 4. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay? All right. Function notation. So the rules for how my points will change. X, Y becomes, so my original points change for the rotation to become negative y, x. So what happened here? The order of my point changes, the order of my coordinates change, and then the sign of the y changes. Remember, this does not mean that you're, excuse me, that this coordinate is going to be a negative. It means you're going to change the sign. All right, so let's look at an example, okay? So we have triangle ABC with vertices 2, 7, 6, 5, and 4, 1. So I want you to go ahead and pause the video and draw that triangle on your paper. All right, so I have already done that on my paper. If you paused it and did it real quickly. Okay, so this is what your triangle should look like. Now a rotation, we're going to move 90 degrees, so we're going to wind up in quadrant 2. I've got my hand covering it because I've already drawn it. But let's look at your points. If my rule is negative yx, I'm going to rewrite it here on my paper. xy becomes negative yx. So if that is my rule, then my first point of 2, 7 is going to change to what? So A prime is going to be negative 7, 2. So negative 7, 2. All right. What about B? How is B going to change? X and Y, so 6 and 5 become negative xy. Excuse me, negative yx. So what's going to be my first point in this new set of coordinates? Negative 5, 6. Okay, so there's B, negative 5, 6. Remember, this is my function notation. This tells me how to change my original points to get my new points. So xy is 4, 1. It becomes negative yx. So what happens? Swap the order, 1, 4, and then change the sign of my y. So it's going to be negative 1, 4. So here are my 3 new points. So go ahead and graph that on your paper. Pause the video and graph that on your paper. All right, that's what it should look like. Now, if you notice, it's a 90-degree rotation. So A rotates around to here. It's a rotation. So it is a turn around the origin. It looks different than a reflection, and it looks different than a translation. All right, so let's look at these next set of points. I'm not going to graph this. I'm just going to go over the function notation with you to make sure you understand. So remember, my rule for rotation of 90 degrees is I change the order and I change the sign of the first. All right, so for P, I have 2, 6. So how would I change the order? It would be 6, 2. Am I done? Nope, I got to change the sign of the first. So my new point, P prime, will be negative 6, 2. Q, 6, 5. I have to change the order. So it's going to be 5, 6. And then what else do I have to do? Change the sign of the first. Now I like to do it in 2 steps, but you can do it in 1 step. So let's look at point R, 5, 1. Change the order and the sign, negative 1, 5. What if you had started in the 4th quadrant? What is that going to look like? Guess what? You still do the same thing. The function notation. You got to know this. You got to memorize it. Okay? So my first point is 3, negative 2. So what's going to happen? Change the order and the sign. So if I change the order, that's going to give me negative 2, 3. Change the sign of the first coordinate. It's going to be a positive. Okay? Y is 6, 1. So that's going to be 1, 6, and I change the sign of the first. Again, you can do it as you move, or you can make it 2 steps. For point Z, I'm going to do everything in 1 step. So I'm going to move 7, change the order, 7, and the sign at the same time. Okay? All right, I hope that clears up and answers any questions you may have about a 90 degrees rotation counterclockwise.